At my own wedding, my sister played an AI-generated video of me with another man, and the whole hall could hear it. My mother-in-law shouted, "I always knew this woman used to be in the streets." I looked at my husband and said, "It's not true. I was with you," but he kicked me so hard I fell to the ground. My parents rushed forward, slapped me, and yelled, "What a disgrace! How could we ever recover from this?" Then my sister shouted, "I always told you this woman was trash, but you didn't listen. To save you all from humiliation, I'll sacrifice myself and marry him." My husband rushed to her and said, "Thank you. You just saved everyone." Then he spat on me and said, "Don't you dare stand up until everyone leaves." I stayed silent. A week later, I did something that left all of them in ruins. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how my own family destroyed me and how I made them pay for it in ways they never saw coming. It was supposed to be perfect. 3 years of planning, countless hours spent choosing flowers, tasting cakes, and dreaming about walking down the aisle to marry Michael Thompson, the man I'd loved since college. We met at Northwestern University when I was studying computer science, and he was pursuing his MBA. Michael came from money. His family owned a chain of successful auto dealerships across Illinois, but he never made me feel less than because my family was middle class, or so I thought. The morning of October 15th started beautifully. I was getting ready in the bridal suite at the Fairmont, Chicago, with my maid of honor and best friend, Jessica Martinez, who had flown in from Los Angeles, where she worked as a software engineer. My sister Ashley was supposed to be there too, but she'd been acting strange for weeks, making snide comments about Michael and questioning whether he really loved me. "Sarah, you look absolutely stunning," Jessica said as she helped me into my dress. It was a custom Vera Wang gown that had cost more than my car, but Michael insisted his bride deserved the best. Ashley finally arrived 2 hours late, claiming she'd had technical difficulties with something important for the reception. She barely looked at me, which I found odd, since we'd always been close, despite her sometimes jealous tendencies. Growing up, Ashley had always been the prettier one, the more outgoing one, the one who got attention from boys while I buried myself in books and coding projects. "You ready for this, sis?" Ashley asked, but there was something cold in her voice that made me shiver. The ceremony was perfect. St. Mary's Cathedral was packed with 300 guests, and when the doors opened and I saw Michael waiting for me at the altar, my heart soared. He looked handsome in his black tuxedo, his blonde hair perfectly styled, his blue eyes sparkling with what I thought was love and excitement. My father, Robert Chen, walked me down the aisle with pride. My mother, Linda Chen, dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief. Even Michael's mother, Patricia Thompson, seemed genuinely happy, which was surprising since she'd always been somewhat cold toward me during our engagement. We exchanged vows, kissed, and became husband and wife. For those brief, shining moments, everything was exactly as I dreamed it would be. The reception at the Palmer House Hilton started wonderfully. Our first dance was to "At Last" by Etta James, and Michael whispered in my ear, "I love you, Mrs. Thompson." I was floating on cloud 9, surrounded by friends and family, celebrating the beginning of our new life together. That's when Ashley made her move. During the dinner service, she stood up and tapped her champagne glass. "Excuse me, everyone. I have something very special to share about my dear sister Sarah." I smiled, expecting a sweet maid of honor speech. Jessica looked confused since she was supposed to give the maid of honor toast later. "As many of you know, Sarah has always been, shall we say, creative with the truth," Ashley began, and my stomach dropped. "So I thought you all deserve to see who she really is." She pulled out a tablet and connected it to the reception's AD system. Suddenly, the large screens around the ballroom came to life with a video that made my blood freeze. It was me, or rather, it looked exactly like me. The woman in the video had my face, my hair, my voice engaged in explicit activities with a man who definitely wasn't Michael. The audio was crystal clear, and the woman who looked like me was saying things that made me want to disappear into the floor. "I found this on her old laptop," Ashley announced to the horrified crowd. "I thought Michael deserved to know what kind of woman he was marrying." The video continued playing as 300 wedding guests watched in stunned silence. I recognized the technology immediately. It was a deepfake, an AI-generated video that superimposed my face onto someone else's body. Having studied computer science, I knew exactly what I was looking at, but explaining that to a room full of shocked people would be impossible. "Turn it off," I screamed, running toward Ashley, but she held the tablet away from me. "Let everyone see," she shouted back. "Let them see who you really are." Michael's mother, Patricia, stood up and pointed at me with a manicured finger. "I always knew this woman used to be in the streets. I told you she wasn't good enough for our family." The room erupted in whispers and gasps. I turned to Michael, my new husband, the man who had promised to love and protect me just hours earlier. "It's not true," I pleaded, grabbing his arm. "Michael, this isn't real. It's fake. It's AI generated. I can explain how they made this." But Michael's face was a mask of rage and disgust. Without warning, he drew back his foot and kicked me so hard in the stomach that I fell to the ground. My beautiful wedding dress torn and dirty. "Don't touch me, you lying," he screamed. Before I could get up, my own parents rushed forward. My father's hand connected with my cheek in a sharp slap, followed immediately by my mother's. "What a disgrace. How could we ever recover from this?" My mother yelled, tears streaming down her face. "We raised you better than this. You've humiliated our entire family," my father added, his face red with anger. I lay on the floor, stunned and betrayed, as the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally treated me like garbage. Through my tears, I saw Ashley stepping forward with a look of mock sympathy. "I always told you this woman was trash, but you didn't listen," she said to Michael. "To save you all from humiliation, I'll sacrifice myself and marry him. Someone needs to save the Thompson family reputation." Michael rushed to Ashley like she was his savior. "Thank you. You just saved everyone." Then he walked over to where I was still lying on the floor, bent down, and spat on me. "Don't you dare stand up until everyone leaves." I stayed silent, lying there in my ruined wedding dress as 300 people filed out of the ballroom, whispering and staring. Some looked at me with pity, others with disgust, but no one helped me up. Even Jessica had been escorted out by security after she tried to defend me. When the ballroom was finally empty, except for a few hotel staff who were trying to pretend they hadn't witnessed the most humiliating moment of my life, I slowly got to my feet. My ribs ached where Michael had kicked me, my face stung from my parents' slaps, and my heart was completely shattered. But more than anything else, I was angry. For the next week, I stayed in a hotel room, ignoring the hundreds of calls and messages from family members, friends, and even strangers who had seen videos of my wedding disaster go viral on social media. Ashley had made sure to post everything online, painting herself as a noble sister who had saved everyone from my deception. Meanwhile, she and Michael had announced their engagement just 3 days after my wedding catastrophe. The local newspapers ran stories about the dramatic wedding swap and how Ashley had heroically stepped in to save the Thompson family honor. But I wasn't crying anymore. I was planning. The hotel room became my war room. I ordered room service, stocked up on energy drinks, and prepared for what would become the most intense week of detective work in my life. every surface was covered with printed emails, photographs, bank statements, and legal documents. My laptop ran constantly, processing data and running analysis programs I developed during my years in cybersecurity. See, Ashley had made one crucial mistake. She had underestimated exactly what I was capable of when pushed to my breaking point. My computer science degree wasn't just for show, and my expertise in digital forensics and cybersecurity wasn't something she had bothered to consider when she decided to destroy my life. The first night, I barely slept. I kept replaying every moment of the wedding disaster, analyzing each person's reaction, each word spoken, each look exchanged. Something had been bothering me about the whole situation, and finally, at 3 a.m., it hit me. The timing was too perfect. Ashley claimed she had found the video on my old laptop, but I had never owned the laptop she described. More importantly, the video quality was too good, too recent. The technology required to create such a convincing deep fake wasn't something you could just stumble upon. This had been planned, calculated, and executed with precision. I started making a list of everyone who had access to photos of me, everyone who knew about my relationship with Michael, everyone who had been acting strange in the weeks leading up to the wedding. The pattern that emerged made my blood boil. This wasn't just Ashley's jealous scheme. This was a coordinated attack designed to destroy me and benefit multiple people. I began with Michael's finances, using skills I'd learned during my internship at a forensic accounting firm. What I found was stunning in its scope and audacity. The embezzlement wasn't recent or small scale. Michael had been systematically stealing from Thompson Auto Group for over 2 years, taking advantage of his position as the heir apparent to siphon money into accounts his parents didn't know about. But here's where it gets interesting. The theft accelerated dramatically 6 months ago, right around the time Ashley started acting weird around me. The amounts grew larger, the frequency increased, and the destinations became more exotic. We weren't talking about a few thousand here and there. Michael had moved over $400,000 to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands and Switzerland. The hotel receipts I found painted a clear picture of their affair, but they also revealed something else. Michael hadn't just been cheating on me with Ashley. There were charges for other hotels, other restaurants, other women. My sister wasn't his first affair, and she certainly wouldn't have been his last. In fact, the metadata on some of the photos Ashley had sent him showed they had been taken in the same hotel rooms where he had met at least 3 other women over the past year. Ashley, my dear manipulative sister, had been played just as badly as I had. The difference was she had chosen to become a willing accomplice in destroying an innocent person rather than face the truth about the man she thought she was stealing from me. But Michael's crimes went deeper than just embezzlement and adultery. I discovered that he had been involved in a complex insurance fraud scheme involving the dealership. Several vehicles had been reported as stolen when they had actually been sold to customers who paid cash. The insurance payouts went into Michael's personal accounts, while the customers received cars with questionable titles. This wasn't just about getting revenge on the people who had humiliated me. I had stumbled onto serious federal crimes that could send people to prison for decades. My parents' secrets unraveled next, and what I found was almost more shocking than Michael's crimes. My father's affair with his secretary, Margaret Walsh, had been going on for 3 years, but it wasn't just emotional or physical infidelity. They had been embezzling money from his employer, a nonprofit organization that provided services to disabled veterans. The irony was sickening. My parents had raised me to value honesty and integrity, yet my father was stealing from disabled veterans while lecturing me about moral behavior. The amounts weren't huge, maybe $30,000 over 3 years, but the betrayal of trust was enormous. These were men and women who had served their country and needed help, and my father was stealing their resources to fund his affair. My mother's gambling addiction was worse than I had initially discovered. It wasn't just a few thousand lost at casinos. Linda Chen had developed a serious online gambling problem that had cost them their entire retirement savings, their emergency fund, and had led to secret credit cards with balances totaling over $80,000. But the most devastating discovery was that my college tuition, which my parents had always claimed was paid from their savings, had actually come from a loan against their house. They had mortgaged their future to pay for my education, then gambled away the money they should have been using to pay back that loan. They were now facing foreclosure, which explained why they had been so desperate for me to marry into the Thompson family's wealth. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fit together in a way that made me sick to my stomach. Patricia Thompson's prescription drug operation was more sophisticated than I had initially realized. She wasn't just selling pills to friends at her country club. She had been working with 2 doctors and a pharmacist to run a full-scale operation that supplied opioids to wealthy addicts across the North Shore suburbs. The network included fake prescriptions for non-existent patients, insurance fraud, and distribution to people who were clearly addicted and needed help, not more drugs. Patricia had made over $200,000 in the past year alone, money she used to fund her lavish lifestyle while her son was stealing from the family business. But here's what made it truly evil. One of her customers had overdosed and died 6 months earlier. A 34-year-old mother of 2 named Jennifer Morrison had purchased pills from Patricia's network and died in her bathroom while her children slept in the next room. Patricia knew about the death, knew her operation had contributed to it, and kept selling anyway. As I dug deeper into the Thompson family's finances, I discovered that their wealth was largely an illusion. The auto dealerships were heavily leveraged. The family had massive debts they were hiding from business partners, and Patricia's drug money had been used to make payments on loans that were in default. The family that had treated me like I wasn't good enough for them was essentially bankrupt, criminal, and living a complete lie. But the most shocking discovery came when I started analyzing the Deepfake video itself. Using advanced forensic software, I was able to trace not just the source footage Ashley had purchased, but also the specific AI program she had used to create the fake video. The software wasn't something you could just download. It was professional-grade technology that cost thousands of dollars and required specialized knowledge to use effectively. Ashley, who had barely graduated high school and worked part-time at a beauty salon, didn't have the technical skills or financial resources to create this level of sophisticated fake media. Someone had helped her. The metadata in the video files led me to a company called Digital Illusions LLC, a small firm in downtown Chicago that specialized in creating realistic digital content for movies and advertising. But they also did private work for clients who wanted to create compromising or embarrassing content about other people. When I called the company pretending to be a potential customer, the owner, a sleazy man named Rick Brennan, was surprisingly open about what they could do. For the right price, they could create fake videos of anyone doing anything as long as the client provided enough source photos and was willing to pay their $5,000 minimum fee. Ashley had paid for professional-grade character assassination, but who had given her the money and the idea? The answer came when I hacked into Ashley's email account using social engineering techniques I'd learned in my cybersecurity training. Her password was embarrassingly simple, and her email history revealed everything I needed to know. The plan had been orchestrated by Patricia Thompson. Michael's mother had approached Ashley 6 months earlier with a proposition. Patricia knew about Michael's crimes and needed someone to blame when everything came crashing down. She also knew that Michael was cheating on me with multiple women and was looking for a way to end our engagement without damaging the Thompson family's reputation. Patricia had suggested that Ashley seduce Michael, which wouldn't be difficult given his history of infidelity. Then, when the relationship was discovered, Ashley could be positioned as the other woman who had stolen Michael away from his innocent fiancé. But Ashley had a better idea. Instead of just being the other woman, she wanted to destroy me completely and take my place as Michael's wife. Patricia loved this plan because it would make me look like the villain in the story while positioning Ashley as a noble woman who was saving Michael from a terrible mistake. Patricia had provided the money for the deepfake video and connected Ashley with Digital Illusions LLC. She had also coached Ashley on how to present the video at the wedding for maximum impact and humiliation. The entire wedding disaster had been theater designed to destroy my reputation while protecting the Thompson family's image. Even my parents had been manipulated, receiving anonymous messages in the weeks before the wedding suggesting that I was hiding secrets from my past. But Patricia had made a critical error. She assumed that once I was publicly humiliated and divorced, I would disappear quietly and never cause problems for anyone. She had no idea that I possessed the skills and determination to uncover the truth and fight back. Now I had everything I needed to destroy all of them. The evidence I had gathered was overwhelming. Bank records, email communications, video metadata, insurance fraud documentation, drug transaction records, and testimony from victims. It was enough to send multiple people to prison and destroy several lives completely. But I needed to be strategic about how I release this information. Simply posting everything online might get attention, but it wouldn't guarantee that justice would be served. I needed to make sure that law enforcement, regulatory agencies, and the media all received the evidence in a coordinated manner that would create maximum impact. I spent 2 more days creating a comprehensive timeline of events, organizing evidence packets for different agencies, and preparing press releases for various media outlets. I also reached out to several victims of the various crimes I had uncovered, including employees who had been affected by Michael's embezzlement and families who had been hurt by Patricia's drug operation. Jessica flew back to Chicago to help me during this phase. As a software engineer with her own connections in law enforcement, she helped me verify the technical evidence and provided additional testimony about the deepfake video analysis. "Sarah," she said as we worked late into the night on my 4th day of investigation, "are you sure you want to do this? Once you release this information, there's no going back. Your entire family is going to be destroyed." I looked at her with steel in my eyes. "Jessica, they destroyed me first. They chose to humiliate me publicly, physically assault me, and abandon me when I needed them most. Now they get to face the consequences of their own actions. But Jessica was right to be concerned. What I was about to do would have far-reaching consequences for everyone involved, including innocent people like Michael's brother, David, and the employees at Thompson Auto Group, who had done nothing wrong. I spent the next day reaching out to these innocent parties to give them advanced warning of what was coming. David Thompson was particularly grateful for the heads up, as it allowed him to protect himself legally and financially before the scandal broke. The employees at Thompson Auto Group were a more complicated situation. When the embezzlement was exposed, the business would likely collapse, putting dozens of people out of work. But I realized that allowing Michael's crimes to continue would only make the eventual collapse worse. At least by exposing everything now, the employees would have a chance to find new jobs before the business failed completely. I also made sure that victims of Patricia's drug operation would receive the evidence they needed to pursue their own legal remedies. Dozens of employees. Ashley's willingness to create deepfake pornography could have been used against other women. Patricia's drug dealing was putting people's health at risk. Looking back now, I understand that my wedding day disaster was actually the best thing that could have happened to me. It showed me exactly who the people in my life really were, and it gave me the motivation to remove toxic people and build a better life for myself. I never would have chosen to go through that humiliation and betrayal, but I'm grateful for the strength it showed me I had. I learned that I was capable of fighting back, standing up for myself, and creating my own justice when the system failed me. And most importantly, I learned that the best revenge isn't about making other people suffer. It's about building a life so good that their absence from it becomes a blessing rather than a loss. These days, when people ask me about the deepfake wedding scandal, I tell them it was the day I learned what I was really made of, and what I was made of turned out to be much stronger than anyone, including myself, had ever imagined. The moral of my story isn't about revenge, really. It's about the fact that when people show you who they really are, you should believe them, and when they try to destroy you, you have every right to defend yourself with everything you've got. Ashley thought she was clever, playing a fake video at my wedding to steal my husband, but she forgot that I was the one with a computer science degree and the skills to expose the truth. Michael thought he could abuse me physically and emotionally without consequences, but he forgot that I had the intelligence and determination to uncover his crimes. My parents thought they could publicly humiliate me and then expect forgiveness when it was convenient for them, but they forgot that respect is earned, not given, and that being family doesn't give you the right to treat someone like garbage. In the end, they all underestimated me, and that underestimation became their downfall. As I sit here in my beautiful new life, married to a man who loves and respects me, working a job I'm passionate about, and surrounded by people who value me for who I really am, I sometimes think about that horrible day at the Palmer House Hilton. But instead of feeling sad or angry, I feel grateful because that day, terrible as it was, set me free from people who never deserved to be in my life in the first place. And that, I think, is the sweetest revenge of all.